So once we have identified the difference between this, of course, we have to indicate like how they're actually functioning in the body. So in the case of phagocytes, they are the ones who are capable of engulfing foreign matter, so that, or engulfing a pathogen. In that sense, it is not able, whenever a pathogen is going to be engulfed by a pathogen, then it's not able to affect any cells. Okay, so the lymphocytes, on the other hand, these are the cells that are capable of producing antibodies, more specifically in the B cell. So whenever we want to like indicate on which, like on we want to further give detail on the types of lymphocytes, such as the B cells and the T cells, these are actually only required to be learned in the HL part, okay, which is only for HL students. So okay, so right after this, okay, once we have differentiated the two types of lymphocytes, we have to indicate how a phagocyte is working. Okay, so we have to indicate like how the phagocyte is able to move towards a specific pathogen, and how it is able to neutralize the pathogen. Okay, so the next area. Okay, so once we have already discussed phagocytic action, then we need to discuss about immunity. So in the case of immunity, of course, this is when a body has already is already able to distinguish any non-self substance from a self substance. So anything that can actually harm the body, therefore there is a necessary antibodies that are going to be produced. So here we need to introduce the terms antigens, okay, and antibodies. Okay, so of course we need to differentiate the two for our students. So okay, so once we have already differentiated antigen and antibodies, we have to relate how we are able to achieve immunity in this sense. So once we have already discussed their differences, now we can move on to the antibody production. We are able to achieve immunity. Our body is able to achieve immunity. It's because of antibody production. Okay, so we just need to like explain, not in total detail, because the detailed part is actually found in the extended part, which is for HL students. So we just need to discuss how an inactive lymphocyte is going to be activated, okay, in the presence of, okay, how it is going to be activated in the presence of the pathogen. Okay, so once the lymphocyte has been activated, it will undergo cell division. Okay. Okay, and then we call this repeated cell division as the clonal selection, wherein this actually will just production of a lot of plasma cells, or a lot of clones of the original active lymphocytes, which will later on produce the antibodies, which is like Y shape. So yeah, so we have to indicate that each and every pathogen has a specific antibody against it. So in the event that the pathogen is going to be introduced, is going to attack or invade the body, then the next time that that it will happen, then the body knows how to react against that pathogen. Okay, that's why we have antibody. In that sense, we achieve immunity. Okay, so the next area that we need to discuss is about HIV. Okay, HIV is one of the most common social medical. How do I say this? So, I think it's one of the most commonly occurring diseases nowadays that is actually still uncurable. So there are, we can tell to our students that there are speculations that, or there are medicines that are meant to slow down the viruses, but they are not really prevented on how they're able to mutate. So yeah, so maybe a bit of the background of the HIV would do, okay, and how we need to actually discuss the effects of HIV on the immune system, how the virus itself is able to decrease the number of lymphocytes that is able to produce healthy antibodies. Okay. Okay. So right after the discussing the effect of HIV on the immune system, it will lead to AIDS. So of course we have to indicate the causes of AIDS, okay, how it is being transmitted, and the social implications of AIDS. Okay. Okay, so actually, this last two parts on the defense against infectious disease about HIV and AIDS is more of like a social awareness part wherein we are educating our students since they're already adults. So it is actually like a social awareness education wherein it's a more scientific approach on how the virus is able to be transmitted from one person to another. So that will be it for defense against infectious disease. More of details will be discussed later on in the 12th chapter. Okay, so the next topic under human physiology is about gas exchange. So what is being discussed here is about the respiratory system and how they are working, how they are functioning. So under this area, okay, students should be able to know the difference between ventilation, okay, or breathing, gas exchange, and cell respiration. Because usually they interchange all of this, but they're different from each other. Although these processes are interrelated to achieve one goal, and that is in the case of to achieve respiration. Okay, so right after identifying the differences between these three terms, then okay, of course we had to include the importance of gas exchange. Okay, so why is it important that our cells need to acquire necessary materials? So since our cells are actually respiring aerobically, it needs oxygen, and the only way our all of our cells would acquire or receive oxygen is through gas exchange. And with the help of the blood circulation, the transport system is making sure that each and every cell is actually being provided with oxygen. Okay, so right after that, we need to identify the structures. Okay, the structures in the ventilation system. Okay, starting from the nose, trachea, larynx, trachea, bronchus, and then the bronchioles, and then the terminal part of it is the alveoli. So once we have identified the structures, of course, it is very important for the students to learn about the function of each structures. Okay, because for sure there will be differences in how the structures are being arranged because they are serving a specific function. So the next important part is the features of alveoli. Okay, so the alveoli, these are the most terminal part of the ventilation system where gases are supposed to be exchanged. So we have to indicate, or we have to discuss that the structure of the alveoli is adapted to its function, which is for gas exchange. So the structure of alveoli is just one cell thick, so that it is actually, the structure is very conducive for gas exchange. Okay? And it is also supplied with rich capillaries. So there's a rich network of capillaries wherein blood can easily can just flow through these capillaries and occur gas exchange between it. So once we have discussed the features of alveoli, okay, we have to relate the features that we have discussed to the adaptation of this feature to its function, which is for gas exchange. Okay, so more importantly, okay, we have to include the efficiency of lungs. Why is it that the lungs are an effective organ or organs of gas exchange? Because within these structures we can find the alveoli, and the lungs and the alveoli is actually providing a larger surface area through which gas exchange can occur. So therefore, each and every cell can actually acquire oxygen. Okay. Okay. Lastly, okay, we have to discuss about the mechanism of ventilation, or the process of ventilation itself. Okay, so for this one, we are able to discuss further the processes of ventilation based on the events that is actually occurring in the thoracic cavity, in the ribs, in the diaphragm, and the intercostal muscles.